Hey everybody, how's it going? My name's Peyton, and in this tutorial we will be learning about services with respect to Bluetooth. So we will be making a Bluetooth service in our application, and this will be an intro video to explain how services work in Android and why they're necessary for what we're going to be doing. To explain what a service is, let's use a real life example here. So we got grandma, and grandma needs to mow her lawn, but she's too busy for that, and she doesn't really want to. So she goes ahead and she hires somebody, Hank in this case, to mow the lawn for her. So grandma doesn't have to. And essentially, that's the same thing in Android. It's the same idea where we have our main application, our UI thread, and we'll have on the side a service that handles, in our case, Bluetooth, but you can also make it handle other things. So we have the main application, and then we have the service separately. In the example we use, Grandma would be the main application, and Hank, the lawnmower, would be the service. So the idea of a service is to have something else do something for the application. So Grandma has Hank mow her lawn. In our case, we're going to have a service manage our Bluetooth connection while the app is running in another thread. You might be wondering why we need a service for Bluetooth. You may have come across some other examples online that don't necessarily use a service, but I'll give you an example of when this is necessary. So let's take an application here. We got on the screen, we have a variable name, and inside of it is Peyton. So we come up and we hit next, and we go to the next activity, and now name is empty. The data for name is essentially lost, and you could save that using a bundle and passing it through to the next activity. But at the same time, you have to restart that. You have to reload that variable, that data. And so the same concept works for Bluetooth. We can have Bluetooth running on one activity, and then we change to the next one, and it's gone. It stops working. The connection is lost, and we'll have to reconnect. So every time you'd have to switch an activity, you'd have to reconnect. If your entire application is on one activity, then you can use Bluetooth without a service. But since our case, we're going to do it where we have multiple activities, we'll have Bluetooth as a service, which will be running in the background here on the side, and it'll be passing data from the app to the Bluetooth service and back. And so if we hit next and we go to the next activity, the Bluetooth service still exists because it's running in the background. And we can still pass data from the application to the Bluetooth and from Bluetooth to the application. You might be wondering how we can communicate with the service and pass data back and forth because the service is running in the background, so it doesn't have any access to any of the widgets on screen. We can't directly change a text view in a service. So that's going to be an issue when we're maybe displaying text sent over Bluetooth or some data from a wearable or something. So let's take this example here and to better explain how this will work. We have Grandma and Hank. Hank's mowing Grandma's lawn, doing a service for Grandma. Hank will represent the Bluetooth, Grandma will represent the rest of the application. So let's say she's getting her lawn mowed and she gets tired of watching Hank. So she's going to go inside and she's going to go pet her cat or watch Morgan Freeman on TV or something like that. I don't know, whatever grandmas do, bake cookies. So grandma's petting her cat and Hank's still mowing her lawn. Now, what if Hank has an issue? Hank's out there and he's got a question. He wants to know if grandma wants him to trim the hedges this week. But since he's busy mowing the lawn, he doesn't necessarily have time to go in and find grandma. He's busy guy, he's got a schedule to make. So Hank sees little Susie running out in the yard. And so Hank asks little Susie if she can go in and ask grandma for him if she wants the hedges trimmed. So Susie runs inside and asks grandma, who's petting her cat, if she wants the hedges trimmed. And grandma says yes. So little Susie goes back and tells Hank. The same idea works with an application and a service. We have our application here, and it's running, it's doing its own thing. And we also have Bluetooth, our Bluetooth service here, which is doing its own thing. It's dealing with connections and sending data back and forth, and the application's dealing with interactions with the user and displaying data. So each of these are communicating between the application and the Bluetooth service on both applications here. And these Bluetooth services are connected through their sockets, and they're passing data back and forth, which is eventually being displayed on the application. And so we have some text here on the left device, and it's going to be passed from the phone to the Bluetooth service, to the next Bluetooth service, and onto that device's screen. And the things that involve communicating between the application and the service are known as handlers. They handle the data between the application and the Bluetooth service. Just like how little Susie handled the passing of information between Hank and Grandma. We have a few different types of services that are available for Android devices. The first one we're going to talk about is a scheduled service, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It's a service that is ran at a scheduled time, and that scheduled time is determinant upon the application. We also have started services, and started services are pretty cool. An application can start a service at any time at once. It doesn't have to be scheduled, and that service will run indefinitely until it has finished its job. So once the service is done, then it will terminate. This means that even if the application that started the service is closed, the service will continue to run in the background until it is finished. We also have bound services, and bound services are similar to started services, but they're attached to the application. So when the application is destroyed, the service is destroyed along with it. In our application, for our Bluetooth application, we're going to be using a combination of started and bound services. And that allows us to start the service anytime we want, but also bind it to the application. So if our application is closed, then we stop our Bluetooth connection because we don't need it at that point. This is really cool because it allows us to run our Bluetooth connection in the background. And so if you minimize the app, you still have your connection persisting, and you're still able to send and receive data from one device to the other. So next time, we're going to actually get into some code. We're going to start developing our service, and we're going to do the fundamentals of that, get a good understanding of how services work, and then we'll implement our Bluetooth functionalities on top of that in the next video.